This week on Startup Security Weekly, co-founder and chief ops officer at Efflux Systems, Adam Bixler, joins us for our interview segment. In our security startup news for the week, the 3 most abstract tips to help your startup succeed, the 5 best presentation apps even for your startup needs. I want to talk about some non-expensive ways to make your small business feel big. And I've got some funding updates from some security companies and a gifty little company that provides us humor. Got some funding as well. So we'll talk about all that and more on this week's show. This is a Security Weekly production.
From the top.
Welcome everyone to Startup Security Weekly. This is episode 15 for November 4th, 2016. I'm your host, Paul Asadorian, the founder and CEO of Security Weekly and the CEO of Offensive Countermeasures, broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island. And on the lines via Skype, the beach bum himself and security catalyst, Mr. Michael Santarcangelo. Welcome, Michael.
Hey, man. Hey, everybody. Still wearing shorts.
It's awesome. Good for you.
I'm very excited about that.
I'm actually wearing pants. So just in case everyone's wondering what's underneath the desk here, I'm wearing pants. Not that I think really anyone was wondering. I don't know why I said that, but anyway, welcome to the show.
How do we open that up? That's great. Very good.
I don't know where that came from. But let's jump right into it, Michael. We got our guest on the line. Let's not keep our live audience or Mr. Adam Bixler waiting, who is the co-founder and chief ops officer at Efflux Systems. Did I say that correctly? Efflux?
You did.
Okay.
That's the actual pronunciation.
Awesome. Welcome to the show, Adam.
Hey, thank you, Paul. I appreciate it.
It's interesting, and this is on the top of my brain as Michael was talking, and I wanted to save it for the show because we were talking about how you became the chief ops officer and how you assign roles at the startup. And it's kind of interesting with John and myself. You would think that John and I would come to the table and be like, I want to be CEO and I want to be CTO. It was the complete opposite. I'm like, dude, you're CTO. He's like, dude, you're CEO. I'm like, good, let's go. Okay, you get back to work. That was pretty much the entire conversation. We assigned each other roles and we were off to the races. So how did that kind of play out for you in this business that you have in your previous startup as well?
Sure. So I realized that a lot of my previous work experience, I'd stepped away from coding. Became more of an operational planner type. So I knew I was not CTO material. Really, where I've gravitated most in startup world is designing products, designing workflows, designing ways to make things easier for people to use. But in the early days of Efflux, it was a 2-person team, and somebody had to step up and do the fundraising, do the investor relations, do the sales and marketing. So that's how we consolidated those roles underneath CEO.
Awesome. Michael, did you have a conversation with yourself about your role in your own 1-person organization?
I did. It was great. It was, I walk around and talk to myself. It just kind of proves I'm crazy. So it's good. No,
did it get tense at moments? Was it tense?
Well, here's the thing that's interesting about it is I'm not the CEO of the company. I've learned to say, I'm the founder of it, but I've always held myself out as the president of it. And at some point when we grow, there was a point where we had employees, and there may come a point again where we do that. And I don't have any interest in being the CEO or the COO. I'll be a driving force behind it, but kind of like Adam, there's pieces to this that I'm going to be better at, and that may not be those pieces.
Sorry, my dog's in the studio. I apologize. Anyway, Michael, I'll let you have known Adam for a while, so I'll let you
Adam
continue
and I go
with
way
questions.
back. We're not going to talk about that too much, but here's the thing too that's great about Adam on the show here is that, I mean, this is your second go around. So I'm kind of curious about a couple of things. I mean, I'd like to hear more about what you do, and you can go either way you want with this to start. You can tell us about the first one and how that led to the second one, or like I'm always curious, like what's the problem that you solve with Efflux, and how did you guys come up with it? Like, what started it?
Sure. So actually, let's back up and walk to how we got to Efflux today. My last company, Morta Security, had gotten together with a friend. We both had aspirations to do a security startup. Previously, I've done a lot of consulting work, both government and private sector. Had actually built a software development team for a commercial consultancy. Realized that they had us focused on doing some services support work to justify building software, and that was not the right way to do it. So it always wanted to just jump out and do a straight up software-based company. Morta, we essentially, the formula was pretty easy. Got together a bunch of friends that had a good idea. We put it together into a patent. We put together an MVP. We took it out and got some customer feedback, and then went out fundraising. We realized that the team that we needed to build to scale that up required some larger investment than what we were willing to contribute ourselves. We were very successful. We took a round from 3 VCs out on the West Coast, but being a Maryland-based team, they wanted the team to move to the West Coast. At the time, I wasn't able to do that. I had some extended military reserve commitments that didn't allow me to, so that's when I stepped away, but started working on the concept for Efflux. What I found in my initial work with Morta was that there's a lot of great detection technology in the market, but there's not a good way to help analysts understand what happens post-exploitation. To be able to stitch together an attacker's movements inside the network is a very manual and laborious process. So what we set out to do was collect the right data to answer the right questions at the right time and enable security operations personnel to be able to identify not just an attacker getting in, but what an attacker does after they're inside the network.
I like that. So that was born basically on the back of Morta, or was that a function of trying to solve another problem that you guys were bumping your heads into on a somewhat regular basis?
It was a problem set very different from what we were doing with Morta, but it was consistent feedback that we were receiving from mostly SOC analysts, like a tier 2, tier 3 type. And look, this was born out of our own experiences as analysts ourselves. We used to have to collect data for 1 to 2 weeks, draw the picture on the whiteboard to explain to the manager why we had to take certain systems offline, why certain remediation actions need to be taken. That 1 to 2 weeks is just giving the attacker more time to be able to spread throughout the network. So your problem becomes infinitely harder if you can never get in front of what the attacker is doing. So we set out to be able to consolidate that data, answer specific analytic questions, and enable an analyst to do something about it faster.
I like it. All right, so let's go back and build on the Morta experience. And I want to push on. You talked about the patent. What's it like getting a patent? Let's do it differently. What did you think it would be like, and what was it actually like?
Sure. So I think that just to cover the patent process, the way that we did it at Morta and the way that we've done it here at Efflux, we did a provisional patent, which essentially lets you write anything that you want. Nobody's going to check it. Nobody cares. You have 1 year to be able to convert that into a full utility patent. That was our way of saying that we've researched the market and we've researched the technology that's currently available, and we've found a very unique positioning. That was a very bold statement to make, specifically to investors, that they're not just making an investment in some guys that are going to spin off into a services company. We have a true product plan that we're following. The nice part about building a provisional patent is that you have 1 year to improve upon it, but any claim that you make in the initial filing is protected until you move on to the full utility filing. So same thing we did with Efflux. We started off with a provisional filing, which was basically our specs for our minimum viable product. We went out, validated the MVP with a few large institutions before actually building something that we could deploy in private beta. And now we've recently filed our full utility patent with the help of our lawyers.
So, Adam, is the provisional patent, is that when you can say patent pending?
Yes, you can stretch it to say patent pending. You are protected, but if you do not file your utility patent off of that provisional filing within 365 days, you lose all claims and rights to what you documented.
And is there like a rough cost that you can put around that, or is it so different for every situation that there's no real way to estimate a cost?
It depends, right? It depends on your lawyers, how much work you do yourself. I mean, you can file it all by yourself with USPTO. We opted to have our lawyers involved, specifically because a patent is only as good as how well you defend it. To be able to say that you're unique is very hard to prove, and having the legal counsel behind you to validate that is extremely important.
Yeah, no.
Did you just file in the U.S. or did you file other places too?
We filed domestically. We looked at doing a larger international filing, but the cost benefit just wasn't there because we're specifically trying to penetrate the U.S. market first. We didn't see the need to do that.
No, that makes sense. That's the thing to point out too, Paul, is that every country you want to operate in, some have some agreements, but patents done right is a game of chess, not checkers. And it's, there's quite a bit to it, but that's just, I mean, thanks for that insight, Adam, because that's an area that I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about, and you guys have done that quite well. All right, I want to ask too, and it's more, how did you come up with the name? I mean, I love it. I had to go look it up, and it seems like it fits really well. Where did that come from?
Thinking about it way too long and hard, trying to be clever, and realizing that we had picked a name that's a little hard to pronounce was probably not the right thing to do. So efflux in microbiology is the way that antibiotics remove infection from cells. And because we were an operational company, we took a whole microbiology theme in our original product lines. We've since gotten away from that and become a little more generic in our branding. But yeah, the idea that we're removing infections as quickly as possible was the theme that we were going for originally.
See, now I thought it had something to do with a flux capacitor. That's just my.
It's just like that. No, it's just like that.
It's just like that.
You get to go back to the future and solve the problems you wish that you had before. All right, so you're operationally focused. I like that, but you're still a product. So tell me what that's like trying to get people to understand this, because you're solving a problem I think most people have. So when you explain it to them, are they like, yes, come in, let's do this? Or what? Talk to us about what it's like getting people to understand that you can actually help them solve the problem that they have.
Sure. So in designing what we do, we built out a series of user personas. Our target user is a tier 2 analyst in a security ops center. We find that we get the greatest advocacy with the security architect, which is typically the most senior technical person in any enterprise security organization. They're the ones that are looking specifically at the security ops tech stack. They're looking at the people and the processes that make security happen. What we're able to show value in is expediting the investigation and remediation capabilities.
Adam, you seem like you guys are very organized for a startup. And so you've already developed personas and things like that. How many people are working for the startup today, for Efflux?
Sure, we're up to 8 people now. What we've found is that over 80% of our organization is engineering. We early on made a conscious effort to bring user-centered design into everything that we do. We find that to be one of the large gaps in security today, is that there's great technical capabilities out there, but being able to translate that back to users, especially as we bring new analysts into the workforce as security has hit a boom phase, being able to translate the value of these products back into something that analysts can actually use was something that we set out to do very early on with our product.
So let's talk a little bit about the organization, because I know being an 8-person startup, right? You've got a lot of things that you could be doing in terms of developing marketing plans and product management. How did you choose which ones to work on, and in which areas did you focus on, and why?
Really, at this stage, the focus is all about customers and solving a specific problem for them. Being in pre-release in private beta allows us to work very closely with just a handful of customers to ensure that we're meeting their needs and that we're teasing out additional functionality that we can put against our roadmap for later inclusion. Yeah, there's plenty of things that we could be doing. We're very focused on identifying our ideal customers and solving their very specific pain points. As we roll out into our general availability here in the next month, we put a bit more emphasis over the past 60 days on actually doing the sales, the marketing, the positioning, all of the public-facing stuff that you have to do when you're no longer in stealth mode.
Adam, so how do you know which customer features and requests are worth building into your product and which ones aren't? Or in the beginning, are you pretty much building in 99% of what your customers are telling you?
What we like to do is inventory all possible features and then prioritize based on the amount of people that are requesting it. There's some great product management. And that's one of the things we've noticed too. Being an East Coast startup, we have great access to engineering talent, but where the East Coast lacks is really product management, sales, and marketing. This is why people look to the West Coast, because they know that a company based there can hire the talent necessary to, prioritize product features and push it out into sales mode. And I think that's why a lot of the money moves a lot faster there on the West Coast. What we've focused on very heavily is product management, to be able to know that we're building the right thing that somebody's going to pay for, to then be able to backstop that with the full sales and marketing plan.
So do you have a full-time product manager, or does that fall into one of the founders' roles?
So I think, you guys are asking about what Chief Ops Officer means. It's we used it more as a catch-all for combining customer success with product management, because there is a lot of overlap there. I do a lot of my time with customer outreach, identifying what's working for them with our product and what they would like to see included next.
What are some of the specific challenges to being a security startup, Adam?
Well, we're very cautious with our technology that, we're not going to take something in half-baked. Really, within security, you get one chance with a SOC, especially on the ops side. You can't come in with technology that's not at least functional, because you're typically not going to get another look. The security landscape is so crowded right now that, there's 20, 30, 50 different vendors that are banging down the SOC manager's door. To be able to get looked at is your one chance typically, unless you have some other type of momentum behind you, something else carrying you in. So our focus has really been on ensuring that once we take tech somewhere, once we say that we have a feature, once we say we're going to be able to do something, that we can actually execute on that.
Are you guys on premise, or are you in the cloud, some hybrid between the two? And what was that decision process like?
It's funny, when we started, we did a lot of customer survey to determine should we be cloud or on-prem. We straddled the fence for quite some time because our initial requirement set mostly came from financial sector. We were told that they would never put anything into the cloud. We then started getting momentum with some other more technology-focused organizations that were cloud first and had asked that we primarily have our offering in the cloud for what they need. We've since gone into a full cloud mindset. From our deployment model, we do a software-based sensor that hangs off of any network device, span, tap, mirrored port, whatever it may be. We're crunching the content back down into flows, so there's no privacy concerns, which allows us to push that metadata back up to the cloud for further analysis. And then we also believe in the security is an ecosystem and all the products playing nicely together. We have a fully open API, so you can either consume our data through our UI, or if you have another platform that you enjoy, then we can just push the JSON down into whatever that platform may be.
I love that. And one of the things I love about cloud, so then do you have the ability to learn on aggregate? So as you're learning what's happening with one customer, does that end up benefiting other customers, or is everybody walled off? You're using the cloud for the elasticity of the space and the processing and everything else.
We've engineered ways to be able to, anonymously extract threat data from different customer instances and be able to share that across all of our customers. So there's definitely value in being in the cloud. I would caution that there are right ways to do it and not right ways to do it. We've seen both styles executed, but being a security company ourselves, we're extremely cautious about anonymizing all customer data should we try to glean any type of insights off of it.
So you're a cloud-hosted solution, Adam. So you're Efflux is incurring all of the charges in the cloud and then basically marking up that back to the customer. Is that correct?
Exactly. And then we use a series of different providers on the back end. We find that different cloud providers do different things well. So we're able to spread that, to optimize the right processes at the right place. And I think one of the other things that we put into the engineering side is, we're a full microservices architecture, so we can spin up different services in different places as needed to be as efficient as possible for our customers.
So do you span outside of Amazon's cloud?
We do.
So is it Rackspace or Azure?
What's really nice is being a seed stage startup, we have access to a lot of the different startup programs. Mm-hmm. So we're continually evaluating all of the different platforms to see which ones meet our needs for the specific workloads we're trying to offload.
And I'm sure that helps control costs because how do you control your costs in the cloud?
We looked at the cost-benefit analysis of having to deploy hardware. Some of the other startups we work with, they'll incur a straight-up $17,000 no guaranteed pilot to go run on-site somewhere for 30 days. So they're shipping the server, they're shipping the equipment, they're putting somebody on-site to do the installation. They are negotiating back with the enterprise for power, space, and cooling. Mm-hmm. Just to get in the door, it doesn't make sense. What we're focused on is analytics. We're a software company and we do analytics. So it doesn't matter to us where we run. We've just found that cloud is extremely more efficient for what we do.
Do you find it's challenging with having a cloud-only model? Does that limit your potential customer base? And do you do anything to kind of convert those people that are like, no, we have to have it on-premise and try and convert them in the cloud? Or do you just skip over them and just specifically target those who are all in with cloud?
For our stage, we focus on cloud only. Now, obviously, if there's a large enough customer that requires something on-prem, we can do that, mm-hmm. But it's not something that we want to spend the DevOps cycles on to do unless it was a very large paying customer at this stage.
Yeah, and I think that's a sound approach. Michael, more questions for Adam?
Yeah, I do. So, I'm just kind of curious because you were able to take more to a Series A round, and I think there's some stuff in there that's probably worth exploring. But what I'm curious about is how much of that process with the first company and the success of that have you folded into this? Like, does this time around feel better? Are you more confident with it? Have you applied some of those lessons learned, or are you finding second time around, nope, it's a totally different experience?
It's every time is different. What I've found is that second time's a little bit easier just because you build the connections off the first one and you've built enough credibility to get noticed, mostly by the investment community. Really the relationships are what make this so important. So being able to work with other companies that we've worked with in the past has definitely made it a little bit easier. Now I'll say some of the challenges in doing this latest startup, we set out to do a couple things a little bit differently. Obviously, after I left Morta, they were acquired by Palo Alto Networks, and stayed in stealth mode the entire time. With Efflux, we've decided that we're building this out into a business. We're intent on building a strong customer list and solving specific problems beyond just the piloting customers we're working with today. So, bringing in the sales, the marketing, all the things that make a business has been a great experience to go through this time around.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool stuff. So somebody sitting right now listening saying, I got an idea. What would you tell them? When somebody comes to you and says, all right, Adam, you've been through 2 startups. What should I do? What would you tell them?
If you don't have customer validation, I would caution anyone to not start. We joke, we're here in the what they're now calling the cyber corridor, the Washington, D.C., Baltimore corridor. There are a lot of security-based startups that are happening here. Most of them are very technical founders, typically with a services background, that have a great idea, and they really truly do come out with some great ideas, having worked with government customers in the past. But they don't have the connection back to commercial security needs. So in trying to pivot from doing government type work into filling a commercial need without that validation that the idea that you have is something that somebody will eventually pay for, I just see it as a really long uphill battle.
Awesome. Michael, is there more questions you have for Adam, or I know we're getting close to midway point here?
No, this is good. I mean, we've covered patents, we've covered stealth versus not stealth, we've covered cloud. I mean, this is, anybody listening at home right now trying to figure it out is good. And then I think anybody who's sitting in a sock right now, they might not be watching us live, but when they pick it up, they now know that there's somebody that can help them. I think it's good.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for appearing on Startup Security Weekly. Best of luck in your startup.
Hey, thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. Thanks, Mike.